E and Toph. This is our wrestling musings for the week of January the 20th. Um, I probably put the wrong date in the title of the video. Who cares? I just recovered from brain surgery, so I deserve a little bit of leeway. But anyway, how's it going, Toph?
Yeah, pretty good. Just trying to stay warm. What's going over there on the west side?
It is it's warmer than it was last week. We got a lot of rain last week. Um, a lot of just I've been the victim of a lot of bad luck mixed in with good luck. I can't call it all bad luck because um I had some life-saving surgery. So, if I didn't get that surgery, I don't know what would have happened. Um and yeah, man. So I'm just happy to be back on the stream. I gotta apologize to you and Jermad on like live on the air because I didn't see that coming, like we were supposed to go live, the three of us, with the SWOT analysis. And then all of a sudden I wake up and I was in the ER. And then it just got progressively worse from there. I didn't like when I went to the ER that day, I actually left the ER that same day. And
Mm-hmm.
then the very next day I had to go back in the ER. They ran an MRI on me and found a blood clot in my brain. And yeah, so it was a little bit more complex than what was originally thought. Those are the breaks, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, again, thanks to you and thanks to Jermone for holding me down that day. That really that made things a lot smoother. You guys actually, we only live streamed over my Twitter that day, and still managed to get like 91 views that on that one day. I think overall it was like 127 views, which is pretty good considering it was kind of a spur of the moment thing.
Well, happy
So
you're doing good, man, because that doesn't sound fun at all, especially being stuck in the emergency room. I know how that goes.
yeah, it was crazy. I'm gonna talk more about it when I do the Nubian Wrestling Advocates with Nate this weekend. But yeah, it was like just so surreal being in the ICU in the middle of the COVID pandemic and just, watching people beg for the vaccine after it's kind of too late to get it. It's like you feel for those people, right? And it messes with you psychologically and stuff too. So I hope everybody that I was in the ICU with is okay. And I was in there for 2 days, and those are 2 days I wish I could get back. But at the same time, I'm just glad everything worked out the way um, it was supposed to work out. So um, it is what it is. If you guys have any questions, want to shoot me any questions about that, I don't necessarily mind asking it. Um, but let's get into some topics. What do I have on the docket? Because there's a lot to talk about this week in wrestling. It wasn't like crazy busy like it's been for the last couple of weeks, but are some newsworthy things that have come up that we have to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about this past week's Raw. I did catch Raw. For those of you who know me, know that I don't like Raw usually. I don't like SmackDown usually, but those two shows, as far as WWE are concerned, are tolerable enough for me to watch. I'm not saying that they're good, but I can watch them. NXT 2.0, I do not watch. That show puts me in a bad mood, especially fresh out of brain surgery. Watching Raw out of brain surgery was bad enough. I could only imagine what watching NXT 2.0 fresh out of brain surgery could do. What did you overall think of Raw?
I ain't gonna lie, man. I don't watch Raw. What I did do is I check out
Clips?
whatever Lashley's doing.
Yeah.
Um, we got one more week left. The I'm kind of just waiting. I'm kind of confused because one of the main things that I was looking forward to was I was looking forward to seeing MVP and Heyman just kind of going back and forth. MVP
Right.
talking about his guy Lashley, and Heyman talking about his guy Brock. So that's what I've been waiting for, and it hasn't happened yet. And they're supposed to be doing some kind of contract signing next week. So if they don't do it this Monday, then that's it. Other than that, like
Yeah.
I don't fuck with Raw. I'm just being honest
Right.
with you.
Okay, so this coming week, we got to get the terminology right. They actually aren't doing a contract signing this week, which thank
Okay.
God, because I hate WWE contract signings more than anything. They're doing a weigh-in, which is another form of a contract signing, right? It's not there's not much deviation. I wouldn't be surprised if they come to blows or do a pull apart brawl or something, as per usual with these before big matches kind of things with Raw. Um, I will say one thing that I liked about Raw that also pissed me off about Raw, and this is a constant problem with me and my viewing experience for Raw. Uh, they had a main event of Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins on Monday
Right.
Night Raw. It was actually a pretty good match. And again, Raw is not something I usually watch entirely live. What I usually do is go through the clips, but I was home on Monday and had nothing better to do. So I'm getting lost in the match, right? I'm watching Rollins, I'm watching Lashley. I'm like, oh, this is a kick ass match. And all of a fucking sudden, two guys like the Usos came out and the Hurt Business came out, just interrupted the match. And then it dawned on me, oh yeah, this is Raw that I'm watching. Because usually when I'm watching Raw, live wrestling, it's usually like Game Changer Wrestling or MLW or AEW, something like that, or even Impact. Raw, it's just when you watch it Raw, some of the times the wrestlers on Raw are so good, but you and if you don't watch Raw, usually you can forget that there's going to be a fuck finish, and that's just the nature of Raw. I really wasn't feeling that, man.
Yep. Seth is fighting Roman and Bobby's fighting Brock. So they felt like they couldn't beat the Miters, so they did
Yeah.
that. Where I'm confused is like the Usos just gave Seth a super kick and they just left. Like what?
Yeah,
Like just
it
the
was real quick. It was just something to do just to do it. It was almost like throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. The one thing I will say about that main event, and you tell me what you think. I honestly do not know who's winning either of those main events. I could see a scenario where Lashley wins against Lesnar. I could see a scenario where Lesnar wins against Lashley. I can see a scenario where Rollins actually beats Reigns. If you would have asked me that a couple weeks ago, I'd have said definitely not. Reigns is winning. But one thing I can say for certain is Reigns and Lesnar at Mania will be fighting for one of the titles. I just don't know which title that they will fight for.
it's pretty obvious to me. What we'll do is I think Lashley is going to beat Brock. Going to be one of two ways. There's going to be a miscommunication from Heyman. Heyman will do something to inadvertently cost Brock the match, or you'll have some run in with the Usos or Roman, or some combination of Roman, the Usos. Something will happen. Something
Uh,
will happen which will lead to Lashley winning. and then Brock will enter the Rumble. He'll take. We've seen this before. Someone has a spot. Brock takes their spot. Probably Sami Zayn. Brock takes the spot. He wins the Rumble. Roman beats Seth. There you go. Do I want to
Yeah,
see that? Absolutely not. But that's what they'll probably do.
I could see that happening too. My thing is, um I do think with Reigns, I think that we're at the point with Reigns where I don't think Lesnar should be beating Reigns. I don't know who should be beating Reigns. I don't necessarily think it should be Lesnar. I would honestly keep the Universal title on Reigns for until next year's WrestleMania if they do the Rock thing, and even he should probably. I Reigns is their long term priority. I don't know if Reigns if WWE is Reigns' long term priority, because I remember a couple months back where he said, he might not be long for this WWE universe. So I don't
Yeah,
know
he's
if
gonna Hollywood. Hollywood's gonna get Roman. Probably we're like in 2022 now. Yeah,
yeah.
Hollywood will have him by like 2024 at the
Yeah,
earliest, I think.
I 100% agree. I think James Gunn will find a place for Roman.
Yeah.
Speaking of James Gunn, let's kind of transition out of this topic. If you guys have any questions, get on the Twitter machine or the YouTube or wherever. Feel free to ask. What did you think of the first 3 episodes of Peacemaker? I only saw the first 2 because what I like to do when I watch these HBO shows, HBO Max shows, Showtime shows, whatever, is I like to build them up a little bit so I can watch multiple episodes at the same time, so I'm not left on a cliffhanger. What did you think of Peacemaker?
Pretty fun. I went in with no expectations. I
Yeah,
know that Cena had been fighting for the role for a long time.
right.
I'm very familiar with the Peacemaker character. It's kind of a niche character,
Yeah,
just like the Guardians of the Galaxy were niche characters before the MCU made it mainstream. Now everyone knows who the Guardians are. I thought Cena killed it. You can tell he's having a time of his life. I'm happy for him.
yeah,
And it's just really nice to just see so much positivity for something for DC for once, because it's
right.
always Marvel that's getting all of it. And, it's like, aha, it's just laughing at DC. So it
Mhm.
was really cool. James Gunn knows what he's doing. It was actually cool because I thought it was like an HBO Max exclusive, but it actually comes on HBO as well. So it's like, oh, so if you have Max, you just get early access, I guess. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was one of the things I loved Peacemaker. I liked it way more than I thought I was gonna like it. Um James Gunn with these wrestlers, first with Batista and now with John Cena, he's really good at casting. He's like he can take these guys and he knows their strengths and he knows their weaknesses. So if we were talking in terms of wrestling, he books them to their strengths. Now, do I think he'd be able to do this with everybody? Probably not. Um, Randy Orton is one of the worst wrestler actors I've ever seen in my life. I remember That's What I Am movie. He was look. I like Randy as a wrestler. The movie was him in the movie. I'm not gonna pick on the movie. Him in that movie was
There,
not playing to
there,
his strengths.
there's got to be something for him. I mean, if Kevin Nash can make 30 seconds in John Wick work, then
Yeah.
clearly Randy can make something work.
Well, see, this is Kevin Nash is a charismatic dude. You know what I'm saying? Wrestling, he's not always been the greatest, but I in the first Magic Mike, I saw that with I think it was my ex-girlfriend, but I saw that with my ex-girlfriend. And I liked Magic Mike 1. I didn't like Magic Mike 2, but even in Magic Mike 2, Kevin Nash is okay in that movie. Kevin Nash, if you're not making him the star of the movie, he can do something special. Randy Orton, even if you put him in the minuscule role that he had in That's What I Am, he's not good, man. He's just not. John Cena is he's definitely got, like, I used to think the ceiling for John Cena was maybe him doing like a sitcom, maybe him being just comedic fodder in everything, never him in a starring vehicle. I don't hate any of John Cena's movies. I think that'd be too strong of a word. I thought he was okay in The Marine. I didn't love The Marine, but as when we're talking Marines and you're talking his version of his movie of the Marine and the versions of the Marine with the Miz and Ted DiBiase or whoever, Orton's movie, I mean Cena's movie is the best version of that.
Yeah.
Ferdinand, it's not like, I like a lot of the animated movies. I like the DreamWorks movies. I like the Pixar movies, Disney movies, all that. But Ferdinand, I know some people liked it. I wasn't crazy about it. The Peacemaker is the one thing that Cena's done that shows me he's not going to be The Rock ever, but he can be he could star in the right comedic part, you know. And I got that more from this than what's the movie he did where is it Blockers or whatever? Because I saw that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. Was that any good?
It was okay. I wouldn't use the word good to describe it, but if you're watching it on video, it's perfectly fine. He was in that Amy Schumer movie. That was okay, and he did a decent job in that. But the Peacemaker, I think, really displayed this guy's strengths. I loved all the characters on that show. This is like one of the show where every character made me bust out laughing at least once. The guy who plays the black guy that plays the leader of the Butterfly Project, he had a couple lines that cracked me up. He said, what did he say? Something about getting a rando from a blowjob from a rando or something. And then I like Peacemaker's comeback. He's like, hey, I didn't get a blowjob. That we had full on sex or something. Just having to like defend that bullshit. I thought it was a great show. And then you mentioned the theme song before we got on the air. I didn't like that wig. I've heard that Wigwam song before. Do you want to taste it? I think it came out, I want to say, was it 20? It was like either the late 2000s or the early 2010s. But I remember when it came out, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that song, but the dance number that they do at the beginning, it does make me laugh. Do you ever skip over the intro or do you watch it?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I
have to. We should talk about that too. That's another thing too, because I don't really watch Disney Plus like that, but like those Netflix Marvel shows, they had like some killer intros. Like that Luke Cage intro was fire. The Daredevil intro was fire. You know, and that was like something DC didn't really do because like a lot of those, like the only thing I really have to compare it to really is what the CW does.
Yeah.
Like Arrow, Flash, like they don't really have intro songs. Like it's just like a little. I think Flash has like a dun dun, like that's it.
Yeah, it's got music, but it's not like it doesn't. What the Peacemaker intro does is it lets us know what we can expect, the quirkiness we can expect from that show. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I wish there were bad things I can say. I remember there was one website where they were talking about the character that Daniel Brooke plays, the one that's spoiler that plays, but this is a first episode spoiler, so it's not really that deep of a spoiler. The one that plays Amanda Waller's daughter,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, they were saying, "Oh, she's some." I think it might have been the Angry Joe show. She's too big to be government operative or something, and that's so stupid, man. I thought like if you know, I work in criminal justice and I work in public administration. Those are not small, skinny girls in that work for the FBI. There's some that are, but they're like you're more likely to see like a Queen Latifah type than you are. Even
Right.
like if you look at like with female athletics and stuff, some of those girls are really like Haas women, man. They jam and stuff. So I like Daniel Brooks' character. Love seeing his character. I loved the girl that he's probably gonna eventually, he's crushing on right now. What's her name? But when we do a full review of the show, we could probably talk about it a little bit further. But Peacemaker is a winner in my opinion, man. I really um, can't say enough good things about that show.
Yeah, and I don't want to like change the subject like too much because this is about Peacemaker. Like this, to me, this is what this is what needs to happen. Like CW just needs. I mean, they're already in trouble.
Yeah,
CW just needs to call it because, like, from what I understand, like Stargirl and Superman and Lois, they're budgeted by HBO Max, which is why those shows like look so much better than like
right.
everything else CW does. So as far as I'm concerned, that's part of the HBO Max universe, because I don't watch Stargirl, but I watch Superman and Lois. Outside of like the Diggle cameo, Superman and Lois just sort of does its own thing, not really acknowledging what the other CW shows do. So what needs to happen is CW just needs to call it, just give everything to HBO Max and just let them take care of it, let them create a new universe. The way it is right now, like just shows like Peacemaker, going a little bit into the MCU, WandaVision, Loki, shows like this are the future for comic book shows. We need movie quality, but like an episodic format, like 40-minute, 45-minute stuff. Uh, Better directing, better
Yeah,
lighting, better pacing. But most importantly, the one thing that all these shows have in common, they're not long. Like in the 90s and the
yeah,
2000s, we'd have like these 25 plus season episodes. Like that doesn't work anymore. Now
yeah.
it's like it's better if you just have like an odd number, like 11 episodes,
Right.
13
Yeah,
episodes, 9 episodes, 7 episodes. Like
yeah.
that's just the future. So
I
we
do
need.
think, yeah, I
What are you
do
going?
think. No, I agree. I think that the CW shows, um, in the beginning they were fine. I think now we live in an age where things kind of just need to be more streamlined. Um, I did watch Naomi, and that's Ava DuVernay. I love the first two episodes of that too, but that's another story for another day. I think Peacemaker with James Gunn directing every episode and him just being so good at casting. Um, I do think that there's something to HBO Max just getting those DC shows. It makes it easier too because you're not like it doesn't have to be like appointment television where you have to watch it at this set
Right.
time and worry about spoilers. You can just kind of watch it at your leisure. So I do think that there's something to that. And yeah, man, Peacemaker. Definitely. I want to see about maybe doing like a review show of Peacemaker, but I don't know what the interest level of that is. So is when I see what it is, we can maybe look into doing something like that. Uh, anyway, anything else you got to say about Peacemaker?
Yeah, just a really good show, and I just can't wait for it to finish. So
Yeah.
you know,
And if it's a good show if we're saying that it's a good show because neither one of us have been known for our Cena
Really.
fandom, you know. But I really got to give it up to Cena for this one because before, and I actually do think he's got the potential to be bigger than Batista. I don't know about The Rock. The Rock is still The Rock. But I think Batista's just been cast and he's just had better things in Hollywood to do than Cena. Not everything Cena's done has been great. I think Batista's movies have been okay to good. And I think that Cena, this kind of shows that there's a higher ceiling for him than what I originally thought it was. So that's
Yeah,
all.
I'm gonna always hope that any wrestler that tries to transition is successful,
Yeah,
because the more that transition, the better it is for all wrestlers. So
right. It really is, man. It's like, I mean, that's the natural progression of things too, man. Especially like, why would you want to work 200 days a year when you could work on a movie set for like a few months, get treated like a king or a queen, and just and not put as much wear and tear on your body. That makes sense to me. So anyway, so we got to transition over from our WWE wrestlers, and we got to talk about Cody's latest promo on AEW on last night, January 19th, 2022. That seems so. This is what I've seen today, Epps. The post guys, my my post family, John and Wade didn't love the Cody promo. The True Hill Heat guys, SP3 and all those cats, love the promo. What's Sean Ross Sapp and the Fightful guys love the promo.
and
Um,
you said the law guys didn't like it, right?
yeah, they weren't feeling it. I'm doing a show with Way in the next week or so. So I'll probably ask him about like what his, why he didn't, because they said why they didn't like it. They one of the criticisms that I heard was that it was all over the place. Now I
Right,
do
right.
think that's a valid criticism, but here's the thing with that: he did the promo with Anthony Agogo, which I think was universally panned. I personally hated that promo he did on Anthony Agogo. I think I think his heart was in the right place, but I think the beats he hit was just kind of tone deaf and stuff. Like Anthony Agogo is a black Englishman. Why are you like talking to him about
Right.
nationalism and shit like that? He doesn't give a fuck about taking over America or inserting himself like that. America versus for a foreign country really only works, and it really doesn't even work in that much in 2022. But if it's gonna be, it's got to be like some kind of communist country maybe. And even then I think it kind of like the Donald Trump era has kind of taught us, some of those of us that didn't already know that Donald Trump, um, America, we don't always do the best things. This is as political as I'm going to get with this. Uh, so I didn't love that promo. This promo though, I thought there was a lot of low hanging fruit in this promo that Cody would have been kind of stupid not to pick at. You know what I'm saying? Like the making fun of the what's his name? Walter's name
Walter.
being
Yeah.
Gunther. I thought you gotta make fun of that shit because it's stupid. Um, I thought I liked that he put over Jay Lethal's cutter. I liked so I mean me and Chad went back and forth on this. Chat Rivera, shout out to him. He didn't like that he didn't promote that ladder match. I
Yeah.
I thought he promoted the ladder match fine. I think he had the ladder in the ring. He mentioned the guy's name. How much more time needs to be spent on that? Like it's a match that's already happened. This time it's going to be with the ladder. It'll be a good match when it happens. I'll be looking forward to it. I'm trying to think of what I didn't like about that. Let's name what you liked and didn't like, and I could probably think of because right now this might be recency bias, but I love that promo. I really did. I thought it was everything I needed a Cody Rhodes promo to be.
Um, I'll just kind of just go all over the place. I said so in our private chat earlier. Cody's promos are just remind me a lot of a politician. It's like when
Yeah.
you're watching those debates, like when it's time for the election, and they say, "What is your opinion on?" I'm just spitballing here. Like, what is your opinion on the gas price crisis? Like gas prices going up, and then a politician will just speak legitimately for like 10 minutes, talking
Mm-hmm.
about everything but the actual like question that was asked. And
Right.
Cody does that a lot in his promos, like a
Yeah.
lot. So when he does his promos, a lot of times like I'm not even really paying attention to what he's saying because I know that he's not going to get to the point till the end, if that makes sense. It's sort of
Yeah.
like when you're in a classroom and you get out in 5 minutes, and that's when you kind of start paying attention. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that he kind of put over Jay Lethal, but I'm kind of like, well, Tony Khan, if you really want to put over Jay Lethal, why
Have
don't
him
you
on a
just I don't
TV.
know, like have him on Dynamite? That'd be
Yeah.
nice.
I
Like that's how you really get somebody over.
yeah, I really don't understand the booking of Lethal in AEW at the moment. I know he's friends with a lot of those guys, so they I
Yeah,
think, and they wanted him there from the beginning,
because
but because
he's on. I don't watch Dark, but he's on Dark and like Elevation like every week.
okay, yeah,
So yeah,
so they got
yeah, but
they've go ahead,
yeah, so the one thing that Cody's got to get better at, it's very obvious to me that the things that he does and the things that he says, he's trying to get a favorable reaction,
yeah.
and it's just not happening.
But it did
So
happen with that promo though that he
right,
cut
right,
last
right, right,
night.
right,
He started off
right.
getting the booze, and he
the,
did
the
turn it
thing that
into
he needs
cheers.
to get better at is
Yeah,
he needs to get better at trolling. That's the
yeah,
thing, because like if he wants to be like Cena, that's where Cena sort of figured it out because the fans
yeah,
would like throw grief at Cena, and then Cena would just like throw it right back. Like the dude that had the "I hate Cena," the black guy with the "I hate Cena" shirt. Like
yeah,
Cena would like go in the audience and like do a "You can't see me" like right in front of him,
yeah,
or that time when Cena was in the ring and he was like, "What about a heel turn?" And he like literally turned
yeah.
his
Turn the
heel.
heel. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah,
yeah, like Cena was really good at trolling the fans to the point where like they couldn't really like Cena just kind of became a meme, sort of. So like it's like Cena like accepted that fans were gonna boo him. It's weird. It's like the Kurt Angle "You suck" thing. Like they were
yeah,
chanting it at him, but then Kurt kind of absorbed it and made it more of a "No, you're not chanting it at me. You're chanting it at the other guy that's
yeah,
in the
yeah.
ring." Like that's the part that Cody has to figure out, and it's like he's fighting it and he's just doing stuff trying to get a reaction.
I
I'm not.
do.
I wasn't mad when he like did the joke about Walter, because
Yeah,
Cody's always been like even before AEW was a
yeah,
thing on BTE, he always takes jabs
yeah.
at stuff.
And we'll get into the Walter stuff here in a second too. But the Walter stuff is just too stupid to not poke fun at. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I would have been kind of upset if he didn't poke. He also, I mean, I know that the law guys didn't like that he talked about Red Dragon. The Fightful guys seem to be more amused by that. Um, and but the thing that I love the most about Cody's promo, this is what I loved about it, is where is the lie? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
what did he say in that promo that wasn't true? He mentioned, because when he said about CM Punk in 2011 when he cut the pipe bomb promo, he was supposed to be this change agent in WWE, and it never kind of materialized into that. So Cody Rhodes, to think we wouldn't have an AEW if Vince McMahon just told that fool he could stop being Stardust and start being Cody Rhodes again, we might not be having this conversation right now. You know what I'm saying? Cody Rhodes left WWE, went to Impact, went to ROH, made friends with a billionaire. I saw them sitting. I saw Cody Rhodes. I was watching a random Jacksonville game one week. Um, I saw Cody Rhodes in the press box. I don't even think the announcers knew who he was. I was like, "What's Cody Rhodes doing in the press box for the Cons?" And I was like, "Something might be a brewing here," you know. And then he does the indie show in Chicago, the show that I attended with Chad Rivera. Awesome, awesome show. Horrible arena, horrible venue, but the show itself was awesome. And months later, he starts AEW. And CM Punk, that was kind of like the direction he was wanting to go in with that pipe bomb promo. But after he cut that pipe bomb promo, the next month or two on pay-per-view, he was jobbing to Kevin
What happened
Nash.
with what happened with Punk was not. I don't want to piss off any religious people who are not religious. I always thought that Punk was kind of like Moses in WWE
Right.
because in the Bible Moses went through all that crap, right,
Yeah.
to save his people,
Right.
and in the end he did save them, but Moses himself never actually went to the promised land because that
Right.
was that was that was his whole thing. So what Punk was trying to do was he was trying to bring change. Well, he
Mhm.
did. It's just when it came, he was gone. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
because he did cause change. It's just
Yeah.
he opened up WWE to the Indies, and whether
Right.
Triple H wants to admit it or not, because whatever I've had this conversation before. There was a point in time where clearly Triple H didn't give a shit about the Indies
Right.
nor Vince. But
Yeah.
then after a certain point, like something changed between somewhere between like
Mhm.
2011, 2012, something changed. And Triple H was
Right.
like, I know what I'll do. I'll just make my own indie and
Yeah.
we'll just call it NXT, because
Mhm.
that's what happened. But Punk
Yeah.
wasn't there for it because he quit. So
Yeah,
so
yeah, and you can't even really blame him for quitting. He was given a lot of stupid stuff. The job in the Kevin Nash shit was uncalled for. Um, I think they kept dangling the WrestleMania carrot in front of him, and they just were never gonna give it to him when he was world champion for those however that many days it was it 400 days or something like that.
it was
He
I forgot, but yeah, it was 400
he
something.
yeah, he main evented maybe once or twice. They didn't believe in the guy. So it's not so much that I am or any of us on in the internet wrestling community blame Punk for not being able to get the stuff accomplished that he wanted to get accomplished. It's just Cody Rhodes was able to be that building block to the indies, to New Japan, to all these different companies, all these talented wrestlers that were languishing, not even languishing, but that were just in MLW, TNA, wherever, and bring them to AEW where they're on a much bigger stage. They're doing way more viewers and got way more notoriety than they would have gotten otherwise and getting paydays that are commiserate with what
Uh,
WWE
But
is
since we're
paying
talking
guys.
about Cody, I've never talked about this with you before. I felt this like back in like 2016, and I still feel it even today. I feel like when I look at Cody and like everything that he's done and everywhere that he's gone, I feel like there's absolutely no reason why that couldn't have been Dolph Ziggler,
Yeah.
because Ziggler was very similar, but the
Hmm.
difference was you had two dudes. One guy decided, hey, you know what? I've done all I can here. I'm going to take a chance on myself. And he did. To me, Cody was one of the first. I'm not going to say he was the first. Cody was like
Yeah.
one of the first, like, I'm not going to say mainstream. He was one of the first, like, wrestlers that you saw as a WWE guy. He left and he showed that it was possible to have a life outside of
Right.
WWE,
Yeah.
And
And
and then
go
you
ahead.
had you had like other wrestlers who similar circumstances, but when push came to shove, they would just sign the contract and just stay for a paycheck. So
Right. And it's I understand that, but I think Cody Rhodes was the guy too that he believed in himself more than maybe some. I mean, when you're a wrestler and there's only one company to go to, I could see how easy it'll be to rest on your laurels because that's just how life is, right? If I'm a college professor, if there was only one game in town to be a college professor, I'd be resting on my laurels probably and just phoning it in and stuff like that. So WWE had a monopoly in North America, and not everybody um, wants to flex their creative juices. Some people just want to be, WWE gives them a script and says, "Hey, do this stupid shit. Make love to um, um, a old lady." And do it, and it's easy to do that. I can't relate to doing that kind of crap because I don't work in a monopolized industry the way WWE worked in for so long, well, operated in for so long. Cody Rhodes went to TNA and became a better performer almost instantly. Um, when he was in ROH, almost instantly he became a better performer. When him and Aldis had that match at the um
he was he was always good, I
yeah,
remember like when he was blown up at the time because I was a big Cody fan. I remember I was in college back then. It was the later 2000s
right,
going into the 2010s. They were doing Legacy with Orton, DiBiase, and Cody.
right,
And everybody on the internet was saying that DiBiase was going to be the next star because
right,
he had the look. And I was
right,
telling everybody, I said, well, DiBiase may have the look, but
yeah,
he didn't have the passion. Cody did.
yeah,
And everything that WWE gave Cody, like I'm not saying that Cody was like this big main event or anything.
yeah,
Everything they gave him, if you look back at it, he made it work and he got it
right,
over. Like
yeah. Even with the
he did the
Stardust shit,
dashing, right?
yeah,
Like he was the dashing Cody. Like that was over. Nobody really talks about that because 2010 was just a really bad year.
yeah,
Then they did
horrible,
the then they did like the injury with Rey Mysterio and he was wearing the mask. Like that was cool because he went from like showing off about how handsome he was. Now he didn't want to show his face. Like it was like a Doctor Doom comic book type character. That was
right,
cool. Then he brought everybody forgets he was the one that brought back the original Intercontinental title, and he had a good run. He
yeah,
had that I remember it was Survivor Series
uh-huh.
2011. That was when The Rock came back. Where he was Rock and Cena versus Truth and Miz, and Cody got one of the loudest pops that night. I still got that show on DVD. Even the stuff with Damien Sandow, the Rhodes
Yeah,
Scholars, that was just a filler team,
yeah,
and he got it over. So
Yeah.
he always showed to me that he knew how to get over. He understood how he always understood like what fans were thinking.
Hmm.
And when he left WWE, he just basically he showed it on a smaller scale, because everyone's because like Impact was smaller, Ring of Honor was smaller, and New Japan was not smaller, but not
Yeah.
everybody watches New Japan. So like the excuse that the haters always had is, well, he's never done it like on a bigger, grand, like
Yeah.
mainstream TV stage, and then here's AEW, and people forget before COVID, Cody was like the number one baby face in wrestling. Like he
Right.
like when those first AEW shows, like he could do no wrong, really. So he's
Yeah.
always been good. I think the hate that he gets is just ridiculous at times. I don't really know where it
I
comes
think
from.
it's I think it I could pinpoint it to that Anthony Agogo promo with Cody. I don't really think it's anything else. I think that Anthony Agogo promo was so obnoxious and ignorant that people haven't fully forgiven him for it. But I will say this about Cody. Yeah, you said something earlier that I do think is worth revisiting. Cody Rhodes in WWE, to me, he was in that same slot that your good hands are in WWE. It was Cody, it was Kofi Kingston, your Dolph Zigglers, which Kofi and Dolph fought like a zillion different times back in the day. Your John Morrison, who was recently re-released from WWE. Your Miz's, who even though he had the championship, he was still in that fucking group with those guys. Who else? All of those um just guys that um are better than what they've been given, except for the Miz. But everyone like Ziggler, all those guys, Bobby Roode's in that group now. Big E looks like he's might be in that group, but rumor says he's going to win the Royal Rumble. We'll see. I'm not sure of that. Um, and Cody Rhodes was the one guy in WWE who said, "You know what? Fuck this. This Stardust. My dad just died, and you guys still want me to be Stardust. GTFOH with that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want to do it, and he believed in himself. He started the grassroots that blossomed into off of a bet with Dave Meltzer for that matter. Started the grassroots of what blossomed into a movement that is AEW, and we like you guys, you and Jermon did a SWOT analysis of AEW a couple weeks ago. AEW isn't perfect, but it's another place for guys to possibly work, men and women to possibly work, and do and make commiserate money and be on channels that have just as much eyes as USA on them, and and show off their art. And Cody Rhodes, I'm I agree with you. I think a lot of the hate that he gets is kind of overblown. Um, I think Cody Rhodes is talented. I think he I think it's almost kind of refreshing to see him make these mistakes in real time, because he can make the mistakes like the Anthony Agogo promo, and then that and never do a promo like that again. I don't. I saw some people comparing the Anthony Agogo promo to the promo that he did last night. They're one of them is a garbage fucking promo, and the
Yeah.
promo he did last night, even if you don't love the promo, it's not a garbage promo. It's a promo that worked for a segment in the audience, and a promo that didn't work for a segment of the audience. For me, it worked.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I I think we'll I think we might have to do SWOT analyses on AEW for the foreseeable future because that that company is always the ebbs and flows of that company are just something to be paying attention to constantly. So now we gotta swing the topics over. Well, how much time do we have left? Probably about a little less than 30 minutes. Well, let's talk about this MJF Punk promo. So
Wait, which one?
or not the MJF Punk promo, not a specific promo, but just the program
Oh, okay.
overall. Um, and what do we think about promo? I've gone from thinking there was potential to being lukewarm on it to liking it to actually now maybe I'm start. I don't think I'm past like yet, but I'm starting to really like it more than not like it. It's like that girl that you kind of you're getting to warm up to you. At first she didn't like you at all, and now she's kind of like,
Hmm.
okay, I see the potential in you, right? I'm starting to see the potential in that program.
Um, the only negative I can give Punk MJF is that they started it too soon,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that if I can use a sex analogy here, you don't mind me using that, do you?
No, I don't care.
Yeah, I feel like they started it too soon, and I feel like that they blew their load early. like
Right.
that like that segment where like Punk was supposed to fight QT and then MJF interrupted him and they just went back and forth for like 17 minutes. Like, and that was we were still in 2021 because I knew that I figured we were going to get that this year in 2022. I figured like, okay, we're probably going to get that like post revolution or something, but they
Mm-hmm.
started it there and it's like, okay, because like the pay per view schedule this year is very weird. Like Revolution is in March this year, so to any fans who
Right.
don't know that, it's in March this year. It's not in February. So when they started it like in November, I was like, how are they gonna milk this till March? Like that, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
be like really creative. So
Right.
what they're
Yeah.
doing now is, I guess TK realized that, and that is one of the positives that I will give TK and AEW in general is that whenever AEW makes a mistake, TK realizes that, and like almost within like whenever AEW does something that's just like a bad move or just something that just didn't work, TK will he TK he pays attention to what fans say on Twitter and Facebook. He's not like Vince,
Right.
WWE can do something stupid, and Vince McMahon will have like this "I'm
Right.
not wrong, you're wrong" mentality. Fuck
Yeah.
you. Or TK, he'll listen to what fans will do. He'll listen to what fans will say. He'll take it into consideration, and he will either change something about it to make it better, or he'll just end it. So what TK has done is like he realized that, okay, how do I milk this till March? So now what they're doing is they're doing like a side story with Wardlow, where
Yeah.
like it's like a story within a story where you have
Within the
MJF
story,
and Punk. Right,
because
right.
because he's because Wardlow's gonna beat up Sean Spears eventually too, right?
Right. So now people are wondering because when it came time for the first match, I was figuring like, all right, Punk will probably have his first loss to MJF, but now I'm not sure because we could get a Shawn Michaels Sid moment where like there could be some miscommunication between Wardlow and
Yeah.
MJF in the match. And MJF can be like, "Oh, take the night off, big man," and Wardlow will say "fuck you" and just give him a power bomb or something
Right.
like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So here's my thing with the handle, and I'll bridge this back over to Punk and MJF because I do think this needs to be said. So when Daniel Bryan and Punk, first it was Punk, then it was Daniel Bryan Danielson, as we call him on the NWA podcast. Um, First Punk debuted, and then a couple weeks later, uh, Daniel Bryan Danielson debuted. I felt with those two A-list names, those two wrestlers are more known than unknown, right? More than just the average fan knows who those two guys are. I'm always of the mindset, the old Eric Bischoff mindset is when you get an A-list star, they need to be given the belt right away because that it worked for WCW. You put the belt on Hogan, ratings almost instantly. That Bash at the Beach that year did higher than most pay-per-views did before that. So I do think there's something to be said about putting the belt on the A-lister fast. But I do also think there's something to be said about slow and steady winning the race. I do think that Tony Khan, although I mean, Tony Khan is a guy that I like. Okay, at the end of the day, he's still a wrestling promoter, but I think Tony Khan books AEW with the kind of artistry that really isn't put in WWE. I think with Tony Khan, when he
Mm.
doesn't, when something is not working, he will, I can trust him for a few weeks of something not working. And then all of a sudden, like the Dark Order stuff, I didn't like the Dark Order at first, but then after a few weeks, it's like, oh, okay, now this makes sense.
Right.
Or, or with the Brandy stuff where it just wasn't working at all and they nixed
Right.
it. With WWE, you are going to get, like you said earlier, Vince McMahon just trying to they're going to change
And
Walter's
the
name to
and the
Gunther.
only exception in WWE is like every once in a blue moon you'll have a situation where like the fans are so behind a person
Yeah, it's
where
got to be
like
undeniable.
right like it's got to be to a point where it's basically got to be like when Punk quit and when Brian was like red hot in 2014 to
Yeah,
the point where like he has no choice but to
yeah,
go in that direction. But even then, even when that happens, Vince is like it's like when you take that kid to a store and they don't want to
yeah,
go and they're just dragging and screaming. Like Vince will do everything he
yeah.
can to undermine that person before they get the big win.
Yeah, that's what they'll do it to say that they did it, right? They did that with Dolph Ziggler. They did it with Daniel Bryan to a lesser extent. They did it with Punk. They did
People
it
forget
with
too. They did it with Becky, and I'm not
yeah,
even a
they
big Becky fan. I remember
yeah,
they had Becky like apologizing and stuff. You
yeah.
know,
So I mean, this is just a trope that they do in WWE. In AEW, Tony
right?
Khan is usually going to fix things a little bit better. With that said, however, I didn't love MJF at the beginning of that promo. I thought him when Punk said that Britt Baker was better than MJF, and it was a good fire line. And then the very next week, MJF is coming back with um, you want to get in Britt Baker's pants. It's like, really, my dude, is that what you got from that, man? Is that was not even low hanging fruit. That was fruit that was on the ground that didn't even need to be eaten. It was not necessary, and I thought it was stupid and dumb. And I feel I like MJF for the most part, but I think a lot of times he goes to these places that if you just scale it back a little bit, it works better than trying to try. Britt Baker, I think she's proven her worth to AEW. She's more than a woman that dudes just want to sleep with and shit. I actually have come to respect Britt Baker's artistry in the ring, and I think she's good on the mic. I don't think she's the greatest wrestler on the planet, but she does what she does her job, and she does her job well.
I
So I
think
don't.
MJF is. I think MJF is like this is gonna be kind of weird, so I'll use my hands as an analogy.
Yeah,
If Roddy Piper is here and the franchise Shane Douglas is here, MJF is like somewhere in the middle, kind
Right.
of,
Hmm.
because he clearly is inspired by Piper, because like Piper, you barely see him wrestle, which is
Right.
good because whenever he does wrestle, it feels like it's special. And like the franchise, and the franchise admittedly is, I mean, he wasn't before my time, but I was a kid, so I can't say that I watched Shane Douglas like in his prime because I was a kid. So all I've really seen from Shane Douglas is like YouTube videos. But I know like back in the day in ECW, Shane Douglas was a promo guy, and I've heard stories that Triple H ripped them off. I can't say for that. MGF is good. Sometimes it feels like he's trying too hard, whereas other times it feels like organic and
Yeah.
natural. And it just depends on who he's feuding with, I guess. Sometimes it feels like the stuff with Darby, that felt real. Um, the stuff with Pillman, like when when Pillman's sister was like in the front
Yeah.
row, like that to me, that was like a little forced, kind
Yeah.
of,
I'm glad you
kind of.
brought that up because this is my problem with the stuff with Pillman. I didn't like him making fun of Melody. And I know that the thought process is, well, his family was a part of it and they were cool with it. Was Melody cool with it, right? Because if you watch the documentary on Pillman, none of those kids seem to be that in love with Melody, including um Pillman Jr. He didn't seem to that's his mom, and he didn't really like her. His stepdaughter fucking hates her. So of course they're gonna be okay with him making fun of this woman's, drug problems and stuff like that. I thought that was just a bridge too far. Like you said, I think
Right,
MJF could get a little forced, and nobody, and because he's MJF and because it's AEW, everyone in the wrestling industry is kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt a little bit more than they would if it happened on WWE. I don't like that kind of shit, man. If it was just the family members that were there, I would have felt a different way about it. But the fact that it was Melanie, and I don't Melanie she definitely doesn't seem like the best faith actor as far as wrestling wives are concerned, but she's been through a lot too. It's not like she's just she's had her own struggles and stuff like that. I don't think it needs to be a real life situation like that needs to be played for cheap heat.
right, right.
Yeah. So anyway, let me see what else we got on the docket. I think it's almost time for us to go. Um, I have brought our ratings down, apps, because you guys did this show. The ratings were just ridiculous, and now I'm over here. I haven't checked YouTube yet though, so uh, let me see.
I think you mentioned the MLW thing
Yeah,
earlier.
that's the last thing we're talking about. So the MLW WWE lawsuit. So I've heard a lot of different opinions on this one. Um, so this is an antitrust lawsuit, and it's an interesting from Court Bauer's point of view. I've met Court Bauer a couple different times. Nice guy. I don't know him. I'm not friends. I didn't slam back beers with him, but I've met him. I think I got a couple pictures on my Twitter or Facebook with him at two of those Wale Mania events.
Hmm.
Um, I I don't think my prediction in that suit is I don't necessarily think uh Court Bauer is going to just automatically lose, and I don't think he's getting a bunch of money. And I thought it was smart of him not to set a dollar amount on what he was asking for. But with these antitrust suits, um, I found that the government does take those a little bit more seriously. Unlike the lawsuits where the wrestlers are suing for like concussions and injuries and shit like that, because those lawsuits always happen after they leave WWE. So they look very disingenuous, right? It's like, okay, now you're suing WWE after you don't even work there anymore. Now you want to cry injuries, and it becomes hard to see where these wrestlers got their injuries and stuff like that. But with the antitrust suit, if you look at cases, I follow these things. It was Microsoft was a part of an antitrust suit that they lost. Apple, the companies, even if they're not listened to entirely, they will like give a warning to the big company, like, hey, these are not ethical business practices. So well, I'll talk about this further probably when I do the NWA podcast. I just kind of want to gloss over it today, but I think this is, if you're going to sue WWE, I think this is going to be a more sound lawsuit than the old wrestlers complaining about injuries from 10-15 years ago, after they already don't work in WWE anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what do you make of all this, that lawsuit?
I think he's basically calling out WWE for something we
Mhm.
all know, which is monopolizing everything. I
Yeah.
I do remember him on Twitter. I don't know Court Bauer personally. I've never met him. I do remember last summer on Twitter, he was teasing something about like a big announcement or something, and whatever it was, it never came. I remember they were supposed to do this Vice deal where they were supposed to have episodes, because the impression I was under was that they were going to have MLW Fusion on Vice TV. They did, like, I forgot what it was called. I think it was called Fightland. They had one episode of Fightland air,
Mhm.
and like that was it. So,
Yeah.
and
So so
so I heard that like the story was that WWE tried to like bully them out of it or something. So,
uh,
regardless of all that, obviously WWE does try to monopolize things and stuff like that.
yeah.
It seems to me like Court's like the first person to just kind of like actually take it to court. Like most
Right.
people just complain about it on a podcast or just say, "Oh, fuck those guys" or whatever. But the Joey Janela dude from with AEW, Joey Janela, he was on Twitter and he has some interesting stuff. He had some stuff to say that was pretty interesting, where he
Mhm.
said that Court Bauer is it preventing MLW talents from working GCW. So so basically, Joey is saying that Court is mad because he feels like WWE is trying to monopolize stuff, but Joe is trying to say in a similar fashion, Court's trying to do kind of something similar. I
Mhm.
remember when the pandemic first started, and do you remember like first AEW was doing those shows at that like
Right.
random gymnasium somewhere in Georgia?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
like later in the summer, they started doing stuff at Daly's place. Brian Pillman Jr. was doing dark stuff. He was on dark, but he wasn't signed. And he was trying to get out of his MLW thing because that Teddy Hart guy had fucked up again. And
Yeah.
Davey Boy Smith was already on his way out anyway. So Davey Dream was already out. So Brian tried to leave, and Court was like, "No, you're staying." And so that's why it took Brian Pillman Jr. a while to get to AEW. I guess the point we're trying to make is, for better or worse, alliances are good for wrestling companies,
Right.
because when you are in an alliance, for better or worse, it does get people talking about your brand. Like when
Right.
AEW was working with Impact, that was the most I've seen fans talk about Impact like since the Hogan Bischoff days. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
um, you know,
And
um,
it made for compelling television also.
yeah. It seems to me that Court, like, I respect what he's doing.
Uh-huh.
It seems to me that he just wants MLW to do his own thing. Like just
Right. Yeah.
he wants MLW to just sort of like exist in this own bubble, and
Yeah.
that's cool. But when you got like Impact working with NWA working with Impact NWA working with AEW, New Japan working with everybody, and then you're just kind of by yourself. Like you're not really making many friends. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah. I
so
think
that's
with so the part about the Vice TV thing, I don't I think that part of the suit might get thrown out because that episode of MLW on Vice didn't hold on to the dark side of the ring audience. It didn't get the ratings. So I think that part of the suit is going to be a little bit easier to dismiss. The Tubi stuff is a little bit more interesting though to see if Stephanie McMahon really strong arm Tubi into not airing MLW. That's going to be an interesting thing. So even if that part of the suit um, doesn't get MLW a ton of money or anything like that. What I think it will do is send a warning to WWE to be careful with that kind of tampering of that nature, right? It's like I said, I don't think MLW is going to become um, AEW or even Impact overnight. But I do think that this is I think as far as WWE lawsuits are concerned, this is one of the more um, lawsuits that make more sense. I don't know how um, enthusiastic ROH or AEW or any of these other companies will be jumping on board with Court Bauer and MLW, but I don't think nothing is going to come. I don't think it's just going to get thrown out and shat on. I think even if it's a minuscule amount of change, something will come from this.
mhm.
So that's my opinion on that. Um, Anyway, I believe those are all the topics that we have today, man. So when I do my NWA podcast, I will formally thank everybody for just checking in on me after I had my brain surgery and all that stuff. We'll try to do a few of these shows every week. I'm trying to build the audience, so we uh, Toph and Jamon did, very good audience on that first episode that they did by themselves the day they uh, carried the ball for me when I got sick. So we'll try to kind of do these a little bit more regularly with a rotating panel, a host or whatever, and try to like make a crisp logo and just be a little bit more official. But for now, I think we are donezo, and you can follow me on Twitter at KMEasyDoesIt. Toph, you want to name your Twitter handle and all that?
Yeah, you can follow me at Toph Knows Best, which is a Hogan joke.
Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, so that is it for us. And eventually we'll get a theme song and all that good shit that follows, all the accoutrements that come um with doing a StreamYard podcast. All right. So peace out, everybody.
Yep.